over the years. A number of the people in the room have a lot of scar tissue. Dealerships, providers, you name it, around trying different ideas on the internet. So in the beginning, the internet was thought to be an e-commerce medium in the car business. And we treated it like that in the beginning. We're talking about 1996, 97, 98. We happened to have started AutoTrader.com in 1998 in May when we launched our website. So there's a lot of talk about buying cars online. There's a lot of talk about this being a direct response driven or an e-commerce driven medium. And in terms of that hierarchy I was talking about earlier, in order to really move the needle on the internet, we have to have the correct view of what the role that it's playing in our industry is and how we can play into that role in a productive and useful way at our store. In other words, capitalize on what the real opportunity is. So is the real opportunity to buy leads? That was what it was thought to be in the beginning, and sell cars online. Or is the real opportunity to do something else? So I'd like to direct your attention to one of the slides. Since you're looking at it, I should look at it too. Bring my little menu up. I'd like to direct your attention to the slide in the middle of your menu, which shows the percentage of the time internet car shoppers submit email leads into dealerships. This is a longitudinal study that's done by J.D. Power over a long period of time. Longitudinal means many years. And it asks people, at any time in the car buying process did you submit a lead into a dealership? You can see what the answer is. It's a very large sample. Tens of thousands of buyers answer this question. And it sits there at 22%. 22%. What that tells us is that most people are not interested in interacting with dealerships via email. There's a minority who are, the majority aren't. Now we can ask ourselves the question, why not? And what can we do about it as an individual dealer to try to get more people to? I would suggest that's not a really useful line of inquiry, because it is what it is. So given this, this tells us that the majority of our opportunity on the internet is to attract people to our stores who do not happen to submit an email lead into a dealership in the car buying process. That's what I think is the implication of that slide. And in fact, as we go along, I'm happy to take any questions or comments about any of these ideas. The next slide I'd like to direct you to is the one right below it. And this has to do with a very fundamental fact about how consumers interact with your stores in the car shopping process. This was a study that we did with the folks at Northwood University about a year ago. And it was based on a field study in which we intercepted customers in dealerships, about 80 dealerships across America, and asked them, after qualifying them as being a sales prospect, not there for a service appointment, they were there to buy a car, what was the initial way you contacted the dealership? What was the initial way you contacted the dealership before you came here? And what you can see is that a very small percent, 2% actually, said their initial form of contact was the email. About 18% said phone, and interestingly, 80% of the time people said they hadn't previously contacted the dealership. Now the 2% and the 22% are actually consistent with each other. You might wonder how can those two numbers be held in your mind at the same time and not have a conflict? There's no conflict, really, because the 22% represents any time over the car shopping process, where this is a customer at a store at a moment in time, that particular store. And that's why the 2 and the 22 actually are consistent with each other. Now, when you stare at this page, that little slide, what that slide does is reinforce the one right above it. It says that the main goal of our work on the internet is about attracting people who don't do a direct response into our store, as a result of some marketing action we've taken. Most people walk in. This is new and used cars. Now, we've gotten enough skepticism about this particular analysis and this particular research conclusion and finding that we've instituted a new program at AutoTrader.com. We call them sourcing studies. And any one of you in this room can have it done at your store on our nickel. And the way it works is we make phone calls with a research firm be a research firm, into people who actually bought a car at your store. And we ask questions like, how did you initially contact the store before you bought a car there? What information sources did you use in the car buying process? Which information sources were most useful? Which was the information source that was the most influential in bringing you into the store? And this is exactly the way the questions are asked. And if it was a website, what role did the dealer's website play, your website? What role did third-party sites play? It's completely neutral. You get to listen in. You get to listen in while the research is being done. And guess what? At all the stores we do it at, obviously there's some variation on a store-by-store basis. It looks just like this. There's some variation, but this is the answer. Done this hundreds of times across America. Most people walk in as their first form of contact with you after having researched what car they want to buy and who they want to buy it from and what price point they might want to buy it at. So if you ponder that for a moment, it has huge implications for our marketing strategies on the internet and the activities that we prioritize as being most important in our stores. Because it causes us to ask the question, how can we influence and attract people to our store who have shopped online? How do we attract them? Both new and used car buyers, by the way. New and used car buyers. We have to ask ourselves the question differently for new and used car buyers. When we ask dealers, how do you attract internet car shoppers who are interested in buying a used car, the whole notion of classified sites like Cars.com and eBay and AutoTrader.com usually pops to mind because most people shop used cars on classified sites today. When you ask dealers, how are you attracting new car shoppers, internet new car shoppers to your store? Interesting question. How am I attracting internet new car shoppers to my store? Different questions, different answers come back. Answers like, well, I'm advertising my dealership URL on television. Okay, I'm going after internet car shoppers with TV advertising. That's okay. That's okay, because it builds your brand. That's what you want to do. There may be more direct ways. There may be more direct ways of attracting new car shoppers who are happy to be on the internet to your store. Because then you have to go back up and ask, you have to stare at that top page. Stare at that top page, which is, if people aren't submitting leads, what are they interested in? So we've done some research. It doesn't happen to show up here, but we did it with Polk a while back. And we asked people who had configured a car online, had looked at the MSRP and the invoice, and done all the 360 spins and all that. What do you want to do next? These are new car buyers. What do you want to do next in your car shopping process? What they say is they want to see actual inventory on dealer lots. I want to see cars, and I want to see information about rebates and incentives and special offers and deals. So what consumers say they most want, new car shoppers, is to see cars and to see deals. Not that surprising. In fact, if you think about what your traditional advertising has been doing all these years, it's been talking about your cars, your deals, and your dealership. Those are the same things that people are trying to figure out online. They're trying to make the practical decision of what car, what dealer, what price. And they're utilizing the various third-party sites and your sites to make those decisions. So the question you all need to ponder is, how do I get them to make those decisions in my benefit, to my advantage of my store compared to somebody else?